The Galactic Concord was old. It had stood for 11,000 years. 43 different alien species lived inside it. They traded with each other. They shared art. They built peace together. They told themselves they had made the galaxy a kind place. They were wrong, but they did not know it yet. On the crystal world of Velthera, the Triarch Council sat in a grand chamber made of glass and light. Holograms of leaders from every member world floated in the air. They were calm. They were polite. They thought nothing could break them. Then a small, wet figure walked into the center of the chamber and changed everything. Her name was Ambassador Shellen. She came from a soft race called the Threnari. They were tall and thin, with skin like fish and eyes like dark pools. They were poets. They were builders of cities under the sea. They had never killed anyone. They did not know how. And now, Shellen had come to the great chamber to beg for her people's lives. She told the council about the Korvax swarm. The Korvax were a hive species from far beyond the outer veil. They came in numbers like rain. They ate worlds. They drank oceans. They turned green planets into gray bone in only a few weeks. 3 Concord systems had already gone silent. 3 whole worlds, gone, with all their people inside them. Shellen showed the council pictures of her home, the planet Aluan. The coral towers were still standing. The children still sang in the deep waters. But the Korvax fleet was coming. In 90 days, maybe less, Aluan would be gone too. She fell to her knees on the cold floor. She wept. She begged. She asked the great Concord, the wise galaxy, to please, please save her people. The council members made soft sounds. They clicked. They hummed. They said sad words, but they did not say yes. Because the truth was simple and shameful. The Concord military was beautiful, but weak. Their ships were made for parades, not war. Their soldiers had never seen real blood. Every member species was gentle. Every member species had grown up on safe worlds, easy worlds, kind worlds. None of them could fight the Korvax. Shellen lay on the floor and felt the cold seep into her wet skin. She knew her people were going to die. The galaxy was going to watch them die. And then, in the silence, a small voice spoke. It was a young archivist near the back of the chamber. He held an old data slate in his shaking hands. He said one word: humans. The chamber went very still. Some of the older delegates closed their eyes. Some of them made the sign of warding against bad things. The word humans was not spoken anymore. It was a word from a dark file. A word the Concord had agreed to forget. The young archivist was scared, but he kept talking. He told the room what he had read. 300 years ago, the Concord had found a small blue world in a quiet arm of the galaxy. The world was called Earth. The people on it were called humans. And the Concord scout teams who studied that world had come back shaking. They had said only one thing in their report. They had said, "This place is wrong. Earth was not like other worlds. Earth tried to kill its own children. The weather killed them. The water killed them. The other animals killed them. Even the small things, the things you could not see, killed them." The Concord scientists had given Earth a name in the catalog. They called it a Class 12 Deathworld, the highest and worst class there was. They had also written 3 words at the bottom of the file: "Do not approach." And the humans, the people who lived on this terrible place, were even worse than the world itself. They had wars all the time. They built weapons that could break their own planet in half. They hunted everything. They ate everything. They climbed mountains for fun. They swam down to the deep, dark places of their oceans for fun. The Concord scouts had watched a small group of humans walk into a frozen wasteland with nothing but bags on their backs. The scouts had waited for the humans to die. The humans did not die. They came back, laughing. 300 years ago, the council had voted. Every species had voted yes. They had wrapped Earth in the Hadal protocols. A wall of silence, a net around the whole solar system. The humans would not be allowed out. The galaxy would not be allowed in. The humans were too dangerous. The humans were too strange. The humans were left alone in the dark, with their angry world, to do what they did. The Concord had agreed never to speak of them again. Now the young archivist stood in the great chamber and reminded everyone of the file. The room was loud with fear. Many delegates shouted no. They said the protocols must hold. They said the humans were monsters. They said opening that door would be worse than the Korvax. One old delegate stood up and shook with rage. "You want to fight a fire?" he hissed, by setting another fire. But Shellen lifted her head from the floor. Her eyes were red. Her voice was thin. She said, "My world has 90 days. My children have 90 days. If you have a monster who can save them, then I want the monster. I will take the monster. Please, give me the monster." The vote was held. It was very close. Many delegates voted no. Many voted yes, only because they could not look at Shellen and say no to her face. The motion passed by a tiny number. The Hadal protocols would be opened. A small ship would be sent to Earth. A message would be carried. The humans would be asked, after 300 years of being locked away, if they would come out and help. Shellen rose slowly from the floor. She bowed to the council. She walked out of the chamber on shaking legs. She did not feel happy. She felt like a person who had just opened a heavy iron door, deep in the dark, and heard something on the other side begin to wake up. Shellen walked through the long halls of the council building. Other delegates passed her. Some of them touched her arm in a sad, kind way. Some of them would not look at her at all. They thought she had just sold the future of the galaxy to save her own world. Maybe she had. She did not know. She only knew that she could not go home and tell the children of Eluan that the great wise Concord had decided to let them die because saving them was too messy. In her ship, on the way back to her homeworld, Shellen sat alone and read the old human file. She read for many hours. She read about the wars they fought with each other. She read about their machines, which were strong but ugly. She read about the way they hunted, in groups, for many days, never giving up, walking until their feet bled, until the thing they hunted fell down from being tired. The Concord scientist who had written the file had used the word frightening many times. Shellen could see why. But she also saw something else in the file, something the old scientist had not understood. The humans loved each other. They loved their children with a fierceness that was almost a weapon. They built songs and stories and small homes. They held hands when they were scared. They cried when their friends died. They were not just predators. They were not monsters. They were something stranger. They were a people who had been pushed by a hard world, and instead of breaking, they had learned to push back. And then they had built warm little fires in the middle of the dark, and they had told each other stories around those fires while the night tried to come in. Shellen closed the file. She put her wet face in her hands. She did not know if she had just saved her people or doomed the galaxy. Maybe both. Maybe neither. She would know soon. Far away, on the small blue world that the galaxy had tried to forget, a quiet station near the moon picked up a strange signal. It was the first signal from outside the wall in 300 years. A young human officer looked at it for a long moment. She did not seem surprised. She had been trained for this her whole life. Every officer at the station had. They had a folder for this exact moment. The folder was old and dusty, but everyone knew where it was kept. The officer pulled the folder from a drawer. Then she smiled, very slowly. She picked up a phone. "Sir," she said, "I think we have a guest. Please tell the director." The wall just came down, breaking the seal. The Concord ship was called the Soft Tide of Morning. It was a beautiful ship. It was made of pale silver and soft blue lights. It sang a quiet song, in 200 languages, as it moved. Every weapon on the ship was locked off. Every system was set to peaceful mode. The crew wore white robes. They were not warriors. They were singers and speakers. They were the kindest face the Concord could put on. They were terrified. Ambassador Shellen stood on the bridge as the ship moved into the Sol system. Her crew was ready for many things. They were ready for ruins. They were ready for empty space. They were ready to find that the humans had killed each other long ago, the way the old reports had said they might. The reports were 300 years old. The reports said the humans were on the edge of dying out. They had broken weather. They had bad wars. They had not yet reached past their own moon. The crew on the Soft Tide of Morning thought they would find a sad and broken world. Maybe a few cave people, picking through old metal. What they found was a wall of ships. The first thing the Concord scanner saw was a fleet. Not one ship, not 10. Hundreds of ships, sitting in a careful pattern around the planet Earth. The ships were ugly. They had no soft lines. They had no music. They were made of black metal and thick plates. They had things sticking out of them that looked like guns. Some of them looked like fists. Shellen had never seen ships like these. They did not look like vehicles. They looked like animals. Sleeping animals. Big and quiet. That you should not wake. The soft tide of morning broadcast its message of peace. It sang in every language the Concorde knew. It begged not to be hurt. For a long time, nothing answered. Then one of the ugly black ships moved. It came forward, slow and easy. It stopped right in front of the Concorde ship. A voice came on the speakers. The voice spoke perfect Concorde trade tongue. It said only one sentence. "Follow us, please." Shellen had to sit down. The voice was a human voice. The humans had not died. The humans had not stayed small. The humans had learned the Concorde trade tongue. Somehow, even with the wall around them, the humans had been waiting. The Concorde ship was led to a station near the planet Mars. The station was huge. It was bigger than any Concorde station Shellen had ever seen. It was rough and strong. It looked like a tool, not a home. There were workers crawling all over it. Earth itself was green and blue and beautiful. But Mars, behind the station, had changed. Mars was no longer red. Mars was now half green, with seas and clouds and forests. The humans had remade a whole planet. Shellen looked at it and felt something cold move through her body. The Concorde team walked off their ship onto the human station. The air was thick. The gravity was heavy. The Concorde crew began to sweat at once. The humans who came to meet them were tall. They were taller than the record said humans should be. They had hard shoulders and wide hands. They smiled with too many teeth. Shellen had read that human teeth were used for tearing meat. She tried not to look at the teeth. A woman walked at the front of the human group. Her name was Director Yusra Okafor. She wore a plain gray uniform with no decorations. Her eyes were very steady. She did not bow. She did not smile. She just looked at Shellen the way a doctor looks at a wound. She held out one hand. "Ambassador," she said, "welcome to our system. Please come with me. We have many questions, and I think you have many answers." They walked through the station. Shellen tried to look strong, but she was scared of everything. She was scared of the noise. She was scared of the food smells, which were sharp and burning. She passed a group of human workers eating from small bowls. The food in the bowls was bright red. It looked like blood. One worker offered her a bite. She made a small sound of horror. The worker laughed and ate the spoonful himself, and his eyes did not even water. In a small meeting room, Director Okafor sat across from Shellen and folded her hands. The room was quiet. Shellen began to speak. She told them everything. She told them about the Korvax. She told them about the dying worlds. She told them about her home and her people and the 90 days. As she spoke, she also told them, with her head low, the other thing. She told them about the Hadal protocols, about the wall, about the 300-year quarantine. She thought the humans would be angry. She thought they would shout, or hurt her, or tell her ship to leave. They did not. The humans listened, in total silence. When she was done, no one spoke for a long time. Then Director Okafor leaned back in her chair. Her face had not changed at all. She had heard about the wall around her people. She had heard that the galaxy had locked them away, called them monsters, and forgotten them. And she did not look surprised. Not even a little. "You knew," Shellen whispered. Okafor gave a small smile. It was not a kind smile. "We worked it out," she said. "About 100 years ago. The signals stopped at a certain point. The patterns were too clean. Someone had built a fence. So we built up. We built fast. We figured one day the fence would come down, and we wanted to be ready when it did." Shellen tried to stay calm. "And now," she said, "we ask for your help. Please. The Korvax will eat my world. We have nothing else. Please save us. We will give you anything. Trade, tools, knowledge, anything you want." Okafor looked at her for a long moment. Then she said something that the Concorde delegates would replay for hundreds of years afterward, trying to understand it. She said, "Keep your trinkets. We've been bored." Shellen did not understand the word at first. Bored. She blinked her wet eyes. "Bored?" "Yes," Okafor said. She stood up. Behind her, through the big window, the ugly black ships of the human fleet were moving. They were waking up. They were turning. They were facing outward, toward the dark, where the Korvax waited. "For 300 years, Ambassador, we have been the most dangerous people in our own backyard. There is nothing left here to test us. Nothing left to fight. We have been waiting a long time for someone to knock on the door. So tell your council thank you. Tell them we accept. And tell them, she added, with that same small, sharp smile, to stay out of our way. Shellen was given a tour of the human fleet that evening. She did not really want one, but Okafor insisted. They walked through the docks where the ugly black ships were being prepared for war. Workers shouted to each other. Sparks fell from welding tools. The smell of hot metal was everywhere. Shellen saw young human soldiers loading boxes onto ships. The boxes had warning signs all over them. Skulls, flames, words she could not read. The young soldiers were laughing as they worked. They were singing. They were excited. They are going to a war, Shellen whispered to Okafor. They might die. Why are they happy? Okafor watched her people load the ships. Her face softened, just a little. Because they finally have somewhere to go, she said. Ambassador, my people have spent 300 years training for an enemy that never came. We built fleets. We built weapons. We made machines that could fight anything. And then there was nothing to fight. Do you know what that does to a species like mine? We started fighting each other again. Small wars, stupid wars, anything to feel useful. She shook her head. You did not just ask us for help. You gave my people a reason to exist. They are going to repay you for that, very loudly, in front of the whole galaxy. Shellen sent her report back to Velthara that night. She wrote it carefully. She tried to make the council understand. She wrote about the gravity, the food, the laughing, the teeth. She wrote about the woman in the gray uniform who did not blink. She wrote about the wall coming down, and about the thing on the other side of the wall, which had been getting ready for them this whole time. She finished the report with one short line, the only honest line in it. We did not save them, she wrote. We let them out. The Deathworlders deploy. Shellen was given a small room on the human flagship. The ship was called the Sherpa. It was the biggest of all the ugly black ships, and it was the lead ship of the human war fleet. The room they gave her had soft lights and a tank of cool water for her skin. The humans had built it for her in only a few hours. They were polite. They were kind, in their own strange way. But everything around the room was wrong. The walls hummed. The whole ship hummed. The Sherpa was always doing something. It was always moving, always testing, always working. The lights in the halls were too bright. The food in the canteens smelled like fire. The crew laughed too loud and walked too fast. Shellen tried to take notes for her report, but her hands shook. She kept dropping her pen. She walked the halls of the ship and tried to understand the people who had been chosen to save her world. The first thing she noticed was the gravity. The Sherpa's engines were running at a level the Concorde called unsafe. 3 times normal pull. Shellen's bones hurt. Her steps were heavy. But the humans walked through these halls in bare feet. Some of them ran. Some of them carried heavy boxes on their shoulders. They acted like the gravity was nothing. She watched a young human soldier do exercises in a side room. The soldier had ropes wrapped around her wrists and was lifting metal blocks over her head. She was sweating. She was smiling. Shellen counted the blocks. There were 8 of them. The total weight was enough to crush a Threnari into paste. The soldier saw Shellen watching and gave her a friendly wave with one free hand, while the other held all the weight in the air. In the canteen, Shellen sat at a corner table and tried to eat the soft fish paste her crew had brought. She watched the humans eat. They did not eat soft food. They ate things that fought back. They ate plants that burned the mouth. They poured red sauces on their meals that made the air taste sharp. A young pilot at a nearby table was eating something called a pepper. He bit it raw. His face went red. He laughed and ate another. Shellen watched and thought, this is not eating. This is a fight. They are fighting the food. She met the ship's medical officer that evening. Her name was Dr. Reyes. She was a small, quiet woman with kind eyes and rough hands. Shellen liked her at once. They talked about the ship, about the crew, about the Korvax. Then Shellen asked about safety, about how the humans would protect themselves in battle. Dr. Reyes laughed a soft laugh and said, "Oh, we'll be fine, Ambassador. I have died twice already. They always bring me back." Shellen stared at her. Died? Reyes shrugged. In training. It happens. We have machines now that can fix most things, if you get to them in time. Last year, in a deep space drill. My heart stopped for almost 4 minutes. They got it going again. I had a headache for a week. She smiled. She said it the way another person might talk about a small holiday. Shellen wrote in her report that night with shaking fingers. These people are not afraid of dying, she wrote. They know death. They have shaken its hand. The next day, the war meeting was held. Shellen was invited. The room was full of human officers and a few of her own Concord watchers. A big map of the galaxy floated in the air. The Korvax swarm was shown as a black cloud. It was very, very big. Shellen waited for the humans to tell her how they would defend Aluan, how they would build walls, how they would slow the swarm down. The humans did not talk about defending. The humans talked about hunting. An admiral with a hard face and short white hair stood at the front. He pointed at the cloud on the map. This is the swarm, he said. It moves like locusts. It eats. It breeds. We will not stand in front of it. That's stupid. We will get behind it. We will find where it sleeps. We will find the queens. And we will burn them. Shellen lifted her hand, very small. Sir, she whispered, the swarm is too big. Behind it is empty space. There is no place to hide. The admiral smiled. We won't hide. We'll move fast. The swarm thinks like one mind. It does not look behind itself, because nothing has ever come behind it. We will come behind it. A young officer near the back stood up. He had a wide smile. He said, and sir, I had an idea. What if we let one of their scout ships board us? We pretend to be hurt. They send a boarding party. We let them get all the way inside, deep in, and then we pop the ship. The Concord watchers looked confused. One of them asked, Pop the ship? The young human officer nodded happily. Yes. Big bomb. We have something we call thermobaric ordnance. It eats the air. It eats the heat. Anything inside the ship turns into smoke in less than a second, including us. But we make a clone of the ship's signal beforehand. The swarm thinks the ship is still there. They keep sending boarders. We keep popping. We did the math. It works. Shellen made a small sound. You will blow up your own people. On purpose. The young officer looked at her, surprised. He really did not understand the question. Yes, ma'am, he said. For the win. Every soldier in this fleet has signed up for that kind of mission. We have a list. There is a waiting list, actually. The first battle came 2 days later. The Korvax swarm reached the edge of the Threnari home system. The black cloud blotted out 3 suns. The Concord watchers on the Sherpa cried when they saw it. They had never seen anything so terrible. The swarm was endless. The swarm was hunger itself, given a body. And then the human fleet, the ugly black ships, did something that broke every rule of Concord War. They did not form a line. They did not stand together. They scattered. Like wolves. Like sharks. Each ship hunted on its own. Each pilot screamed into the comms, but not in fear. They screamed in joy. The pilots were laughing as they tore through the swarm. They were calling out targets. They were making jokes. One pilot, weaving between 3 Korvax cruisers, sang a song. Shellen watched from the Sherpa's bridge with her mouth open. The humans flew at angles their ships should not bend. They turned in ways that should have crushed their pilots. They had things in their bones, things in their blood, that the Concord did not have. Director Okafor stood next to her, hands behind her back, watching her people work. She looked proud. She looked, Shellen realized, like a mother watching her children play. Below them, in the dark of space, the Korvax swarm did something it had never done in its long, hungry life. It pulled back. The black cloud rolled away from the human fleet. The hive mind, for the first time in its memory, was confused. Something had bitten it. Something had bitten it in many places at once. And it could not find what. On the planet below, the people of Aluan came up out of their deep-sea cities. They stood on the wet sand of their beaches and looked up at the sky. They saw the great black cloud of the swarm, the thing that had come to eat their world. And they saw the small, bright lights of the human ships moving through it, tearing it, breaking it. The Threnari did not have a word for what they were watching, because their language did not have a word for it. Their language did not have a word for victory. Shellen sent a message home to her people that night. She wrote it in soft Thranari song words. She told them they were going to live. She told them she had brought help, and the help was strange and frightening, but the help was working. She told them to thank the strangers when they could. She did not tell them how the strangers were laughing while they fought. She did not think her people were ready for that part yet. What the galaxy forgot. The war did not last long, but it was a hard thing to watch. The humans did not just push the Korvax back. They followed them. They went deep into the dark. They captured Korvax soldiers alive and brought them to labs. They took apart the bodies. They studied the brains. They learned how the swarm spoke to itself. They learned how it smelled. They learned where its weak parts were, the parts it did not know it had. Then the humans did the thing that broke the Concord's heart. They made a smell, a chemical one, that copied the smell of a Korvax queen who was sick and angry. They put this smell into bombs. They threw the bombs into the swarm. And the Korvax soldiers, smelling the false sick queen, attacked their own real queens. The hive ate itself from the inside. Whole Korvax fleets fell apart in days. The swarm was not just losing now. The swarm was killing the swarm. The Concord Council sent a message to the human fleet. The message was polite. The message said, "Please, you have done enough. You have saved us. The Korvax are running. Please stop." The humans did not stop. They followed the Korvax back to the outer veil. They found the nesting worlds, the dark, hot planets where the queens laid their eggs, and they burned those worlds. Every one. They did not leave anything alive. They did not even leave the small things, the eggs that had not hatched yet. Shellen watched it all from the bridge of the Sherpa. She had not slept in many days. Her heart was full of strange feelings. Her people were saved. Her children would live. She should have been crying with joy. But every time the humans burned another Korvax world, she felt something cold turn over inside her. She finally went to Director Okafor's office. She stood in the doorway and asked the question she had been afraid to ask since the day she met them. "Why are you like this?" Okafor looked up from her work. She did not get angry. She just looked tired. She nodded slowly. "Come with me, Ambassador. I want to show you something. I think it is time." They took a small ship to Earth. They did not go to the cities. They did not go to the museums. Okafor flew them to a flat, golden land full of long grass and big animals. The humans called this place the Serengeti. Shellen stood in the warm wind and watched a great striped cat hunt a small running thing. The cat was fast. The small thing was faster. The cat got close, then lost it, and lay down in the grass to rest. Okafor pointed at the cat. "For 2 million years," she said, "that thing hunted my ancestors. Things like that. Things bigger than that. We had no claws, no big teeth, no fast legs. We had only our hands and our minds and each other. Every night was a fight to live until morning. Every morning was a fight to live until night. For a very, very long time. Then they flew to a deep, dark place under the ocean, where the water pressed in like a hand around the ship. The humans called this place the Mariana Trench. Shellen looked through the window at things with too many eyes, things with their own small lights, things that should not be alive, but were. Okafor said, "We came from the sea, you know, long ago. The sea was full of teeth. Then we came onto the land. The land was full of teeth too. So we kept going. Up the mountains, across the ice, into the deserts. Everywhere we went, the world tried to kill us. And we did not stop going. Then they flew to a quiet, empty place full of broken buildings and trees growing through windows. The humans called this place Chernobyl. Shellen could feel something wrong in the air, something invisible, something that hurt. Okafor said, "This is where we made our biggest mistake. We split the heart of the atom. The land here is poisoned. It will be poisoned for 10,000 years. We did this to ourselves, by accident, in less than a day. We almost did much worse, on purpose. We had so many of these bombs, once, that we could have ended ourselves 100 times over. We came so close, Ambassador. So close." She turned to Shellen. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "Your old reports said our world was trying to kill us. They were right. It was. The weather. The diseases. The animals. Each other. Everything. And we won, Ambassador. Every day. For 2 million years, we won. We did not win because we were strong. We were not strong. We won because we did not stop. We won because every time the world hit us, we stood back up. We won because we were the only animal that could imagine a tomorrow and walk toward it through any kind of fire. Shellen sat down on a broken wall. She looked at her hands. She felt very small. She thought of her own world. Of Aluan, with its soft seas and gentle skies. Of her people, the Threnari, who had never known a real winter, never known a real fight. The galaxy had been kind to them. The galaxy had handed them everything. And then a real predator had come. And they had been ready to die because they did not know how to live in a world with teeth. She understood then why the Concord had locked Earth away. The old council had been afraid. They had seen this strange, wet little world with its strange, wet little animals. And they had felt something they did not have a name for. They had felt that humans were not a normal sapient race. Humans were something else. Humans were a survival machine. A machine that had been turned on 2 million years ago and had never been turned off. A machine that, when locked in a room with itself for 300 years, had only grown sharper. And then she understood the second, colder thing. The Concord had been wrong to lock Earth away. Not because it was cruel, not even because it was unfair, but because the Concord had built itself on a lie. The lie was that the universe was kind. The lie was that gentle worlds made gentle peoples, and gentle peoples were the right way to be. The galaxy had told itself this story for 11,000 years. And then the Korvax had come, and the story had broken. The Korvax were not a special enemy. The Korvax were just the first thing the galaxy had ever met that bit back. The Concord had panicked, because it did not know how to be bitten. It did not know how to bite. The humans, on their angry blue world, knew. The humans had been bitten by everything. The humans knew how to bite back. The humans knew, in their bones, that the universe was not kind. It was only sometimes quiet. Shellen looked up at Okafor. She had one last question. And out there, she whispered. Past the outer veil. Past the Korvax. Are there more things? Things worse than the Korvax? Okafor looked at the ruined sky. She looked at the broken buildings. She thought for a long time. Then she said, very quietly, Yes, Ambassador. We have been listening for 300 years. We have heard things, old things, patient things, things that have been waiting in the dark. The Korvax were noise. The real ones are silent. And someday, soon, they will notice that the Korvax have stopped moving. And then they will look up, and they will see us, and they will come. Shellen looked at the human woman. The woman did not look afraid. She looked, if anything, ready. They flew back to the Sherpa in silence. Shellen sat by the window and watched Earth grow small behind them. The blue world, the angry world, the school where the humans had been raised. She thought she understood it now, in a way the rest of the Concord still could not. Earth had not made monsters. Earth had made teachers. And the lessons Earth had taught its children were the lessons every species in the galaxy was going to need, sooner or later. The humans were not the enemy. The humans were the warning. The humans were what every species had to become, in part, if they wanted to keep living in a universe that had teeth in it after all. When they reached the Sherpa, Okafor turned to Shellen one last time. Her voice was gentler now, almost soft. Ambassador, she said, go back to your council. Tell them what I showed you. Tell them what I said. And tell them this. The free ride is over. The galaxy has been a quiet place for 11,000 years because nothing big has noticed it yet. Something will. Soon. They have a choice. They can stay soft and get eaten, or they can learn to be hard and live. We will help. We are not your enemy, but we are not going to fight your wars for you either. Not after this one. This one was the last free one. Shellen looked into the eyes of the human woman. She saw something there she had not seen before. Not anger, not pride, something softer and older. It looked, Shellen thought, like grief. The humans had survived their cruel world, but not for free. The price was carved into them. Every laughing soldier, every singing pilot, every doctor who had died and come back, carried that price. The humans had paid for their strength in tears, generation after generation. They were strong because they had to be. And they wanted, very badly, for no one else to have to be like them. But they would teach the galaxy how, if the galaxy asked. Because the other choice was watching another world become silent, like Aluan had nearly become. The new Concord. The Korvax swarm fell apart in the 8th month of the war. Their last queen was taken alive by a small human team. They put her in a glass tank deep in a lab on Mars. They studied her every day. The Concord watchers who saw the lab work could not eat for days afterward. The humans were not cruel. They did not hurt the queen for fun. They were just very, very thorough. They wanted to know everything about her. Every part, every thought, every smell. The humans wanted to make sure the Korvax could never come back. And then they wanted to take what they had learned and use it on whatever came next. There were big parties on 100 Concord worlds. Songs were written. Statues were made. Shellen's home, Aluan, was saved. 3 other worlds were saved with it. Children who would have died now ran in the wet streets and laughed. The Concord told itself this was a great moment. A new chapter. A new friendship between the old peoples and the strong young humans. The humans did not come to the parties. The humans were busy. They were fixing their ships. They were burying their dead. They were building new ships, bigger than before. They did not seem interested in songs or statues. When a Concord delegate asked Director Okafor why no humans came to the celebrations, Okafor said, "We do not celebrate winning a war until we are sure the war is over. This one is not over. There will be more." A great meeting was called on the crystal world of Velthara. The Triarch Council would formally invite the humans to join the Concord. They had a long, careful speech ready. They had medals to give. They had a place at the high table prepared. They expected the humans to be quiet, to be grateful, maybe even to bow. Director Okafor came to the meeting in her plain gray uniform. She did not bring music. She did not bring gifts. She brought 2 officers who stood behind her, and they did not bother to hide the small black weapons on their hips. The Concord guards felt their hands sweat at the sight. Okafor walked into the great chamber. She did not bow. She did not smile. She walked to the center, where Shellen had once knelt and wept, and she stood there with her hands at her sides. The Triarch leaders made their speeches. They spoke of friendship. They spoke of the new age. They spoke of how proud they were to welcome humanity into the family of stars. When they were finished, they looked at Okafor and waited for her thank you. Okafor lifted her chin. She said, "We will join your Concord, but not on your old terms. We have new terms. Listen carefully." The room went very still. Many delegates did not even breathe. First, Okafor said, "The Hadal protocols are dead, not just for Earth, for everyone. You will not lock another species away again. Not for being strong, not for being strange, not for being too much. The galaxy is bigger than your fear. You do not get to put fences on it anymore. Second, every member world of the Concord will accept human military instructors. Your soldiers, your defense forces, your young people. They will train with us. We will teach them how to fight. We will teach them how to bleed. We will teach them how to stand up after they are hit. You will not like the training. Your people will hate it at first. They will hate us. That is fine. By the end, they will be alive. By the end, they will be dangerous. That is the point." An old delegate rose, his hands shaking. "This is barbaric," he hissed. "We are a people of peace. We do not turn our children into weapons." Okafor looked at him without any anger. She just looked tired. "Sir, the Korvax did not care that you were a people of peace. They ate 3 of your worlds. The next thing that comes will not care either. Your children are going to be weapons, or they are going to be food. There is no third choice. There has never been a third choice. You only thought there was, because the universe was being polite to you for a little while." The room was silent. Shellen, watching from the gallery, felt tears on her wet cheeks. But not sad tears. Strange tears. Hard tears. She thought of her drowned cities, her dying coral towers, her children who had almost been food, and she thought, "This woman is right. This woman is terrible and right." Third, Okafor said, "You wanted us to save you once. We did. We will not do it again. Next time, you save yourselves. We will help. We will stand with you. But we will not stand for you." The galaxy has been a baby in a soft cradle for 11,000 years. The cradle is broken now. You have to grow up. She stopped. The chamber waited. She looked around at all the holograms, all the worried faces, all the trembling hands. Then she said one last thing, in a soft voice, almost a kind voice. We listened, you know. For 300 years, while you were not talking to us, we were listening. To the deep dark. To the spaces between the stars. There are things out there. Old things. Things that have been waiting. The Korvax woke them up by being noisy. They are looking now. They will come, sooner or later. So you have a choice. You can stand with us. Or you can stand alone. Either way, you will stand. And then she turned and walked out of the chamber, with her 2 officers behind her. No one stopped her. No one cheered. The Concord did not know how to cheer for what had just happened to it. The old galaxy had ended in that room. A new one had started. It was going to be sharper. It was going to be louder. It was going to hurt. But maybe, Shellen thought. Watching her go, it would also live. That night, Shellen flew home to Aluan. She walked into the warm seas of her homeworld. She watched her own children play in the coral. They did not know how close they had come to dying. She did not tell them. She thought she would teach them, one day, the things the humans had said, about the dark, about the things in it, about how to stand up after being hit. And far away, far past the outer veil, past the dead nesting worlds of the Korvax, in a deep, cold place where no Concord ship had ever gone, something very old was beginning to stir. It had been still for a long time. It had thought the small blue world was nothing. A baby world. A toy. It was wrong. The little blue world had grown teeth while it slept. The old thing in the dark, for the first time in its long memory, felt a small, sharp feeling that it had never felt before. It took it many days to find a name for the feeling. Finally, it understood. The feeling was fear. And the old thing, for the first time, began to be afraid. Back on Velthara, the council was still trying to put itself back together. They argued for many days about what Okafor had said. Some of them wanted to refuse. Some of them wanted to send the humans away. But the truth was clear, even to the proudest old delegates. The galaxy had needed humans to live. The galaxy would need them again. The fence was down. There was no putting it back up. The wise old Concord had lost the right to choose, the moment it had asked the Deathworlders for help. And so, slowly, the new Concord began to take shape. Human teachers came to gentle worlds and started training programs. The first weeks were ugly. Soft species cried in the training yards. They got hurt. They quit. The humans waited for them to come back, and most of them did. Slowly, very slowly, the gentle peoples of the galaxy began to learn what the humans had always known. The body breaks, but the body also heals. The mind breaks, but the mind also rebuilds. Standing back up is a skill, like any other. It can be taught. It can be practiced. It can be made into something beautiful, even. And in the deep dark, the old thing waited, and watched, and was afraid. It did not yet know what to do. The galaxy had grown teeth in its sleep. The little blue world had spread its lessons. And the old thing, who had watched stars die, who had eaten suns, who had been the worst story whispered in the youngest galaxies, would have to make a choice. Come now, and fight a galaxy that was learning to bite. Or wait, and hope the lesson did not finish before it could strike. Either way, the quiet 11,000 years were over. The story of the gentle Concord was done. A new story was starting now, and at the front of it, with a small, sharp smile, walked a woman in a plain gray uniform, leading a fleet of ugly black ships into a darkness that had never, in all its long life, met anything quite like her.